In just a year and a half, I've done over $500,000 in sales on the platform of Etsy selling print on demand. Today, I'm breaking down the biggest lessons that I've learned so that you can avoid making the same mistakes that I did and scale in the fastest way possible. So the first point I want to talk about is that evergreen products matter. Now, what evergreen is essentially is something that sells all year round. So not just something that sells in one specific time of the year. That is basically the definition of evergreen. Essentially, it never dies. So we want to stop chasing trends. Okay, so this kind of ties into an evergreen product. An evergreen product is not something that's chasing a trend, right? It's going to keep selling for the whole year and for years to come. It's not going to like die out essentially, right? So we don't want to keep chasing trends like most other sellers do. We want to actually build a sustainable business with our evergreen products. Now, that being said, we want to combine evergreen with seasonal. Okay? Now, I know this kind of contradicts what I just said. However, there is merit to selling seasonal products as well. So like a seasonal product could be something like an ornament, right? It's only going to sell in Q4 or Christmas time. And an evergreen product could be like a picture frame or something like that, right? Now, the reason for us wanting to combine both of these things is that we can still capitalize on that kind of that seasonal traction and boost our shop. We're going to get sales, we're going to make money, we're going to get more reviews, and it's just going to keep snowballing from there. So that is kind of the reason for us combining. Key point here is that evergreen also spikes in Q4, right? And this is from experience. I'm not just saying this, but evergreen also does spike in the last 3 months of the year. So people are buying gifts and they're also buying evergreen products or evergreen designs, right? So that's another reason why we want to focus most of our time on evergreen products or listings or designs. And we already kind of touched on this, but this creates steady income, right? Again, this is from experience. We want to generate steady income, right? Otherwise, we'll just be kind of a yo-yo shop where we're making sales for Christmas time, selling ornaments, and then for the rest of the year, our shop's dead. We don't want that, obviously. We want to actually be building a sustainable business, or at least that's what I want to do. So that is why I'm talking about focusing on evergreen products. The next key takeaway I have is that we want to provide value to the marketplace. Now, this is a completely new way of thinking for a lot of you guys out there, but this I found to be something that really does help you stand out from the crowd. So how do we do that? Well, we can sell unique products, right? And I talk about this, I feel like I talk about this all the time, but Printify, your print-on-demand supplier that most people use, they have a vast catalog of different products. So why not take advantage of that and sell something unique to the marketplace so that we can provide value and in turn also help us stand out from the crowd. Another way to provide value is use personalization. So if you don't know what personalization is, it's essentially when you sell a customized product or a customized design where the customer can essentially put in their name or a date or a specific, maybe an address or whatever it is that pertains to your design. Maybe it's a photo that they upload onto it. That is essentially personalization. And I know a lot of you guys out there maybe are a little bit hesitant and maybe it's a bit scary to sell personalized products, but that is one way you're going to be adding value to your listing. That is what I do myself. I want to say probably, actually, all of my designs are personalized now, I think. In the beginning, I didn't really sell any personalized products, but I'm pretty sure, no, that's a lie. Not all of them are personalized, but I want to say maybe 99% are personalized. So that just goes to show what I think, what I believe is that personalized products are the way to go on Etsy. Combine multiple products. So what I mean by that is combine multiple products in your one listing. So an example could be, say you're selling an 11-ounce mug, just a white mug. Maybe you're adding also in a glass mug, right? Or maybe a water bottle, or maybe it's a wine tumbler, or whatever it is, right? It's got to make sense. Obviously, you're not just going to want to add things in there just to add things in. They've got to flow together, make sense for the buyer. But combining multiple products into one listing is another way to provide value to the marketplace. Another thing you can do is offer more variations. So offer more variations to your listing. So that could be more colors, it can be more sizes, whatever it is, right? Now, one thing you want to be careful with here is do not offer too many options, because then your customer is going to get kind of that analysis paralysis and actually maybe click away because it's just an overload of information. So focus on adding more variations. Now, another extremely important lesson is profit margins, right? Profit margins can make or break your shop depending on if you're using ads or other things. So profit margins, you need to know about profit margins, how to calculate them, what they are, and just like any other business, this can make or break your business essentially, right? So first off, you want to always know your costs, obviously, right? But this isn't like you gotta like take into account everything, right? So you have your Etsy ads, you have your fees on Etsy, you have your products, your cost of goods, right? All of that stuff together, that is what it's going to be your costs. So you got to make sure that before you start going all in on a product type, you got to make sure it's profitable, right? And the way you can do that is, for example, use Everbee's calculator that they have and calculate your costs, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the fees for Etsy, especially for us that are from Canada, are actually higher than the US. So keep that in mind. You got to figure it out for yourself, but the Etsy fees are actually more than what the US ones are. So keep that in mind. Choose high value products. Again, this is from my own personal experience. I personally like to choose products that can be valued at a higher price or can be listed at a higher price because they are more of a high ticket product. Now, I wouldn't consider them really high ticket, but definitely higher ticket than like a t-shirt or even a sweatshirt, right? So I personally like to focus on that like $70, $80, $90 range, because then you actually have some room to spend money on, for example, Etsy ads and still make a good profit. You want to also use multiple suppliers. Okay, use multiple suppliers. Now, a lot of the sellers that do the best on Etsy have multiple suppliers. And I can see that because I've studied and analyzed their shops. And I myself also use multiple suppliers. I have two main suppliers that I use. I use Printify, and I also use another supplier that's called Merchize. Now, if you want to make sales in Q4, as we're fast approaching Q4, I'll have a video linked down below in the description. It's for Merchize, and it's a tutorial on how to actually design ornaments from Merchize. It's very, very cool. Merchize has an insane product catalog with unique products. So go ahead and check that out. And yeah, so use multiple suppliers. Don't just feel tied down to one supplier. We can choose the best things from other suppliers and then sell them in our shop. Selling on Etsy can feel overwhelming, from figuring out designs to SEO to actually making sales. There are a lot of moving pieces. That's exactly why I created the POD Launchpad, which is my online community and course hosted on the platform of school. Inside, you'll find step-by-step training showing you exactly how to get started and to scale your Etsy shop. Plus, you'll be surrounded by a community of sellers learning and sharing their progress every day. Right now, for a limited time, you can join for just $10 a month. That gives you full access to the community, to the course, and to ongoing support that will help you scale in the fastest time frame possible and avoid mistakes. This special pricing won't last, and I want to help as many people as possible get started. So if you've been waiting for the right time to launch or to scale your shop, now is the time. Just click the link in the description. You'll be taken to a page explaining a little bit more about the course and join for just $10. Let's grow and scale your business together. Another key point or lesson that I learned is that listing timing is very, very important. So the first point here is that Etsy needs time, right? They need to understand what your listing is about so that they can push it out to the correct buyer. So Etsy needs time to basically understand. So ideally, we want to list our listing 6 to 8 weeks in advance of maybe the specific occasion or time of year that we're targeting. For example, Easter or Christmas or whatever it is, right? Times of year, St. Patrick's Day, whatever it is. Etsy needs time. We want to be essentially early enough so that we can capitalize and get our listing ranking and starting to make sales so that we can get the most sales possible. We also want to know when to list, right? So again, like I mentioned, 6 to 8 weeks in advance. In some cases, even earlier, like Q4, for example, we want to get on that as early as possible, but know when to list, right? So know the specific times of year that the search volume is the highest for a specific occasion, for example, Mother's Day, and start listing for that thing so that you can capitalize on that search volume and make sales. And like I already said, utilize high search volume occasions, right? Utilize high search volume. So the different occasions of the year. We want to capitalize on that because the more sales we get during those times, the more our shop will be snowballing, right? We'll be getting more sales, we'll be getting more reviews, and Etsy will keep liking our listings because we're getting good reviews, hopefully, right? And that's just going to keep snowballing from there. So the next lesson I have here, or the key point, is to know your target customer, right? This is very, very essential. It's going to makes designing, right, easier. if you know who you're targeting, then designing for them is going to be much, much easier, right? We want to know their habits. What are they interested in? Could they be interested in multiple different things? Is there a tendency to, for example, if they like scuba diving, just an example, do they also like fishing, right? Does that same customer also like multiple things? Can they be a repeat buyer from our shop, right? So all those types of things makes designing much, much simpler, easier, because you know their likes, you know their dislikes, you know what speaks to them. And yeah, this also equates to higher conversion rates. It equates to higher conversion rates because, again, you know exactly what they want. So they're going to obviously make purchases easier from you. Like, it's going to be less traction. They're going to make purchases faster, easier. They won't keep leaving them in the cart, or maybe they just favored it but never end up buying, right? So if we know your customer, it'll also increase your conversion rate. We want to also connect with emotions, right? And this kind of ties into knowing your target customer, obviously. We want to know, okay, what can trigger them emotionally? Is it funny? Is it sad? What is it that they're looking for? Like, for example, a pet owner, maybe their dog died, maybe maybe you have a memorial pet gift, right? And it's essentially, maybe you have a video of a dog or whatever it is in your listing, and that really then just speaks to the emotions of that target customer, right? So that is know your target customer. So that's going to sum up the 5 lessons that I've learned from selling over $500,000 on Etsy. Like the video if you got value from it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.